Howdy my totally tubular gamers, and we are back for another ranking video, and today's ranking video is going to be on another series of racing games, another mascot series of racing games. This time it's going to be ranking all of the Crash Bandicoot racing games. Now, I'm sure most of you people know who Crash Bandicoot is, but did you know how many racing games he actually had? I'm sure most people are like, yeah, I remember the one on PS1, or I know the remake that came out a couple years ago, or maybe you even remember the one on PS2. But did you know there's actually 5 different Crash Bandicoot racing games, not including iPhone games? Yeah, there's actually 5 of them. Now, all 5 of these games are of varying quality, but at the very least, they're all pretty consistent with each other in terms of theme, tone, racing, etc. It's not as wildly varied as, say, Sonic's racing games. No, these are all pretty in line with each other, and some of them are incredibly similar to each other. And a couple of these games are not only some of the most underrated racing games on their respective platforms, but they're some of the most underrated racing games I've ever played. I don't know what it is with underrated racing games. I just love sticking to them flat out. Sonic racing games. I just love underrated racing games. And Crash, he's no exception. He's got a couple himself. And so I thought, why not do a ranking video just based on Crash Bandicoot's racing games? Last year I did a video ranking all of Crash Bandicoot's games, however I didn't include remakes or different versions of games, and so I didn't include 2 racing games in particular on there that I would like to include here. And I just love talking about Crash Bandicoot in just about any capacity. And so you already know the rules. We're going to be ranking them based on quality, how much fun I've had with them, memories, etc. We're not including any mobile titles. I don't even know how I'm supposed to play some of these mobile titles if I actually wanted to, which I don't, by the way. Like, share, sub, all that great stuff. Let's just get right to it. What do I think is the weakest of the Crash Bandicoot racing games? I think Crash Tag Team Racing is definitely the low point when it comes to the racing games that are in the Crash Bandicoot series. Now, Crash Tag Team Racing is a really strange game, especially looking back all these years later. I wouldn't say it was a particularly great game either. I'd say it was relatively mediocre to, like, at best, average. So there's 2 parts to this game. There's the racing part that you would expect, which has its own little gimmicks and quirks. And then there's also this open area you explore on foot as Crash, and this is where it's like an actual platformer and everything. You explore around, collect coins, and interact with the world, and really it's just kind of a means to go to each race or event, and it's just really weird. Like, why is this here? None of these open areas are all that good. The platforming is pretty mediocre. Everything feels relatively shallow. This concept just feels really shallow and just kind of rudimentary. Like, there's nothing to stop you from just teaming up with someone the whole race and then bailing on them at the last second and winning. Like, why wouldn't I do that? And even in, like, multiplayer, it's pretty much the exact same scenario, only now both of you are going to ditch each other at the very end to try to win. Like, it just seems really stupid and not really all that well thought out, to be honest. As a kid, I really did like exploring this world, but nowadays I'm just like, why? This is dumb. And then the racing isn't even really any better either. It's really weird because, like, the game is about tag team racing, but then you still have to, you know, place in first. And so what this amounts to is you teaming up with another racer where you, like, merge your car, and then someone's driving and someone's got a gun, basically, and can destroy the other cars and, you know, slow them down and make them have to respawn, and then you can ditch the tag team and then just go on your own. And then I'll just be real, none of these tracks are any good. They're all flat, they're basic, they're boring, they're benign. There's really nothing to them. There's nothing interesting, there's nothing memorable, there's nothing even close to memorable. There's some other events thrown in here, like where you do tricks and stuff, but it's just not memorable, and it just didn't really lead to all that great of an experience, and I just don't really know what they were going for with this game. It even has, like, a story, and, you know, honestly, it's not even really worth bringing up. I really don't know with this game. I know some people probably have some fond memories with it, but I just don't think it's a very good game nowadays. Our next game I didn't get to talk about in that Crash video last year, and that is the Game Boy Advance version of Crash Nitro Kart. Now, I know you look at this and you probably go, wait, the Game Boy Advance version of Crash Nitro Kart? That's probably just the same game, but, like, super watered down, and, you know, you'd be right to an extent. However, there are enough differences that I think that this is a different game, really. This is a different game, and it's actually got a lot of quality behind it, especially for a Game Boy Advance racing game. I'd say it's one of the best best racers on the platform, actually. Yeah, the story is the same where Crash and his friends and his enemies are transported to space and have to race each other, and the character roster is the same, and a lot of the level themes are basically the same, even the names are the same. However, if you actually look at this gameplay, you'll quickly be able to tell that, yeah, it's not exactly the same as the console version. It has a lot of the same elements. You still do a lot of drifting, there's multiple levels of boost with the drift, you have to do a lot of tight turns, there's items, you still jump around, but a lot of the gimmicks that were thrown into Nitro Kart, such as the anti-gravity and some of the other little gimmicks in certain areas like Out of Time, where there's like jumps all over the place, are really gone. A lot of the tracks are very flat, obviously. The game looks something like Super Mario Kart or Mario Kart Advance or even like Banjo Pilot. However, I would say this is actually better than almost all of those games. I don't know about Mario Kart Advance, but it's certainly better than Banjo Pilot. The controls are actually really good, especially considering for the Game Boy Advance, they might even be better than the console version, I won't even lie, and the drifting is actually really fun. The items aren't stupidly OP, and none of the courses are really all that difficult, especially compared to the console version, but none of them are that easy either. Sure, they aren't the most exciting, of course not, but I actually think that for the time this was very good, and I think that this was a very good portable racing game. Of course now, you know, you can play the new one on the Switch, which is on the go, but hey, what we had here, it's nothing to scoff at. And yeah, I actually do think it's better than Tag Team Racing. Not by a lot, and I still can't necessarily recommend it all that much, but I mean, if you want a racer on GBA, you're doing pretty well with this one, and it's better than Tag Team Racing. So our next racing game is the console version of Crash Nitro Kart. Now, I remember playing Crash Nitro Kart many years ago as a child and just really falling in love with it and really loving it, especially after playing CTR. However, coming back nowadays, yeah, it's not as great as I remember it, but I would still say that this is a pretty decent to good racing game. Now, I'll be the first to admit, though, that this game is low-key a carbon copy of Crash Team Racing. I mean, the control scheme's the same, the drifting is basically the same, they try to make the cars feel like as close to the original as possible, a lot of the elements are the same, the items are pretty much the same. Yeah, it's really similar and not as good as CTR, but that doesn't totally discredit as a racing game. I still did have fun with it. The story is pretty weird, where Crash and his friends and enemies get put into this arena, and it's like this whole versus situation, and they gotta go after each other. It was fine for what it was, and you get to explore around a hub area just like CTR and do events and all that stuff. Where I think this game really excels is the track design. I think a majority of the tracks in this game are actually really quite good. I think there's a ton of memorable ones like Out of Time. We love Out of Time, but there's actually a lot of really good ones in this game. There's some generic ones, of course, and some that you just totally forget after you finish it, but I really do think there are some good ones here. The game is able to actually provide a pretty decent challenge also. It might just be the rubber banding, but I remember this game was hard as a kid, and all these years later, yeah, it's actually still pretty challenging. I mean, there are some challenging elements to it, and drifting is still really fun. I will say the controls are not perfect. They're really slippery a lot of the time, even more so than CTR, and it can feel a bit unresponsive at times, but it's nothing game-breaking, and I think that the game still holds up decently well, and I can come back to it and still have a fun time. I mean, you can pop it in, play a little bit with some friends, or remember some old times, I don't know, but it's still a fun time. It's still alright. And I think the second best Crash racing game is the original Crash Team Racing released for the PS1 all those years ago by Naughty Dog. I really love the original Crash Team Racing. I think it's probably the best racer on the PS1, which is actually saying something, and it's just one of my all-time favorite kart racers. Now, I think CTR really has like the best drifting mechanics of like any racing game. Like, the drifting mechanics are just absolutely superb. Like, I just think they're really unparalleled. I think that they are incredibly satisfying. The boost mechanics are great with the multi-level drift and boost. It's really great to pull off. It feels great. There's a lot of skill behind it. The skill ceiling is stupid high in this game. And this game has a great sense of speed. Like, you go fast. You go real fast. And it feels just real good. And I don't think that really like any other kart racer aside from a remake has ever captured it. The game kind of takes a Diddy Kong racing style approach to the single player. You go around a hub area and go to events and do these events. Most of them are just simple races. However, there are a bunch of other different event types thrown in here that actually really fit well into Crash Bandicoot's world, like the time relics or breaking all the crates, and I think that these were implemented very well. The story really is about you either being Crash or a hero with Aku Aku, or a villain, so Cortex or his people, and just kind of being the best, and then taking on nitrous oxide. I really like the story mode in this game, and I really like the skill ceiling that this game has. CTR has a lot of tech behind it. There is a lot of skill that you can actually put into this kart racer, and you'll actually get a huge reward for it. Like, it really pays off to get hella raw at this game, and it's drifting. No other kart racer really has the tech behind this, except maybe like Mario Kart Wii, but that's still just not even in CTR's level. Like, I just really think that the tech and the skill ceiling again is just very high in CTR, and it's a great game. So what could possibly be better than that? I think the only thing that could be better than CTR is a remake of CTR. Yep, I think the best racing game of them all in the Crash series is Crash Team Racing Nitrofield. Now, I think this game just really took everything from CTR and just put it in the modern era. It put it in the modern era, and then they really built on top of it. They took everything that was great from CTR, the story mode, the tracks, the characters, the skill ceiling, all of that, the drifting, by the way, which is still amazing, and put in all of Nitro Kart stuff, put in some of Tag Team Racing stuff, put in new courses, a ton of characters. I mean, even Spyro's here now. Like, there is a ton of content. There's online. It really, yeah, it just doesn't really get any better than this. And yeah, I know, there's microtransactions, and I hate them, and I don't think they belong in this game, and I know Activision lied and didn't put them in the game initially and brought them in later after all the good press and the game's sales. Yeah, it's bullshit, and I don't like it. This game does not need microtransactions, but if you ignore them or factor them out and just play the game, I promise you, the game is still fantastic, and it has a ton of content with all the post-content, launch updates, and unlike certain modern releases, this game launched great. It launched really great. The updates made it even better. The game wasn't broken and then the updates fixed it. No, it was great already. It became just amazing with the updates. There is so much content. There's so many different courses, characters. You can have carts, costumes. It's really great stuff. It's really fun. There's so much customization. The online, when you can actually find people, it was actually really great, and I don't know if there's that many people playing it anymore, but it's still really fun. The skill ceiling is still there. The drifting is just as good as CTR. It is just as good as the original CTR. They really nailed the controls of the original, which is pretty incredible. It feels a lot better than Nitro Kart. Like, it really just is superb, and it's one of the best racing games ever made. It's one of the best kart racers ever made. It's like maybe my favorite kart racer ever. Seriously, it's that good. Outside of the stupid microtransactions, I really have nothing to complain about with this game. I really think that it is as close to like almost a perfect racing game as it gets. It has the content, the characters, the customization, the drift. I mean, of course, you know, you want something realistic or with real cars. You're not going to get it with this, but when it comes to a kart racer, how do you get it any better than this? How do you get a kart racer better than this? This is up there with me as it's up there with the best Mario Karts. It's up there with Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. It's just a fantastic game that I have no problem recommending people. It's dirt cheap now also. You can get it for like under 10 bucks. It's dirt cheap. No reason to not check it out. What a fun time. And I really hope that in the future we can maybe get one more racing game for Crash that's like this. Please, can we get another racing game? I don't know. Either way, that's it for this video. I really just wanted to talk about Crash and some more racing games. I'm sorry if I sound different. I've been very, very sick with mono lately. It's not been fun. Tell me your favorite in the comments. I'd love to hear it, or whatever you want to see me rank next. I'm always reading them comments. Hope everyone has a fantastic day. Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, 4th of July, whatever it is. Bricks as usual. See you later. Bye-bye.